Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Boom Rookies presented by ESPN. Coming at you live from the Temple of Boom. It is grand final weekend, and with me today, Nick Campton. Hello.
Hello, we're back in here. I haven't
It's
been in
so
here.
good to see your
I don't
face
think I've
in
been in
here.
here all year, to be honest with you.
It's great to have you. It's great to see you in person. We're here. It's the biggest weekend of the year. It should be great. And we've gone through a week of shows. Thank you to our guests for coming on. Thank you to everyone who's been listening and giving us great feedback. But this is the penultimate show. We'll have the little Slow Your Brain grand final for people to sink their teeth into, a little 20-minute bite of something on Sunday morning before the actual grand finals begin. But here we are to talk about all things, all three games, starting with the NRL men's final, the Melbourne Storm, the Brisbane Broncos, the Storm looking for their first comp since 2020, and the Broncos looking for their first comp since 2006. An incredible gap for such a proud football club, who have, of course, come very, very close on two occasions since then. But this does feel like this does feel different for Broncos fans, I think, this time around.
Yeah, I think so. I think the week started just from like a Sydney perspective, right? Because we both live here. I think it started a little bit slow in terms of interest, right? And I think that's only natural given that because there's no Sydney presence in
No
there.
media ops.
It takes a little while to get going, but I think it's picked up as the week has gone on. I think this is a game that the neutrals are really, really into, and I think they've gotten more into it as the week's gone on. And here we sit on grand final eve, and when you gather around your grand final tree and hand out your grand final presents tomorrow, I think even if you don't have a dog in the fight, it's a game that everyone can enjoy. Here's a story for you, man. So every grand final week, I go get a fade, right?
Correct.
I get a fresh fade the week of every big game, Origins, finals,
Magic round,
grand final. So like when Canberra had two finals games back to back, the Barbers made a lot of money.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So I went down to Yass & Co. in Leichhardt, shout out. They've also got a location up at Rozelle. Go check them out. They'll look after you, right? And normally if I get a fade and they do up my beard and they shape it up and trim the top and all that, it takes about 45 minutes, all right? It's a leisurely pace. Sure. We're always talking and hanging out. This time it took an hour and a half.
Okay.
Because we were just talking about the footy so much. I love that. Yeah, so shout out to my boys. Shout out to Moe. Shout out to Nod. Shout out to Ahmed. Nod did my hair this week. He's a Broncos fan. They're all very, very pumped, man. You know what I mean? The people are getting behind this one.
They are, and I'm glad that the energy levels have risen in the city throughout the week. We had the Dally M's last night. Of course, we don't really.
No, we had the Dally M's 2 nights ago.
Sorry.
Remember?
Yes, of course. Thankfully, we don't really need to talk about that because we thought James Tedesco would win and there were no shenanigans. He won by, I think, 500 votes?
Yeah, he won by 12 million votes. Deserved, certainly.
Yeah.
There were a couple of queries I had with the team of the year.
I thought Isaiah Katoa should have been halfback of the year.
Yeah, like Adam Finnell-Blake getting one of the prop of the year spots, Nathan Cleary getting halfback, Stephen Crichton getting centre. Like, I disagree with all of those, but if all we can disagree about with the Dally M's is a couple of spots in the team of the year, considering how bad it's been in the past.
Correct, yeah.
I think we have to take that as a win.
Yeah, and I think,
or at least not a loss.
And if we'd done like 3 teams, like we did our teams of the year, if we'd done 3 teams, maybe even 2 teams, all 3 of those dudes would have been in either the second or
the all NRL second team.
Yeah,
they're in that for sure.
Like Cleary would have been my second halfback, Finnell Blake would have been my 4th or 5th prop, and Crichton was literally my next centre out after Staggs and Farnworth. So no complaints really.
Yeah. Oh no, we can still complain.
Oh, good.
I'll still complain. I'll be complaining about the Dally M's for the rest of my life.
Fantastic. All right, but Sunday, 7:30 p.m. the Melbourne Storm, the Brisbane Broncos. We're going to start the big story. Will Teddy Swims be there?
Well, we had a joke on one of the shows earlier this week that if Teddy Swims can't make it, I think there's a chance they just shave my head, put on some fake tats.
They should.
Send me out
there. They should do it.
And then
get
if my voice,
up to 11.
Yeah, if my voice is cooked, they can say, well, look, he battled through that virus.
Since John Sattler have we seen such a brave
Trump,
grand
Burgess,
final.
Sattler, Swims. That's the big 4.
Exactly right. But yeah, in all seriousness, I'm so psyched for this Melbourne opening as slight favourites. I think that's only fair given what we saw from them on Friday night and sort of how the Broncos have really had to dig deep to get out of jail on not 1 but 2 occasions in this final series already. But they're fired up. They get Patrick Carrigan back off 20 days rest or whatever it is. And I think both of these teams will be absolutely fancying their chances.
Yeah, well, I think fired up is the word. I think Brisbane have really run on emotion in both of their finals games, and I think that is what has driven them home in some very difficult circumstances. And that turns this into like a really good clash of styles. It might just be because I watched Homer Goes to College this morning, but that's how I'm kind of seeing it. Like, it's the rowdy chuggalugs of Bronco House up against the button-down preppies from Melbourne.
Who's the
you know, it's
crusty old
compelling. Grant Atkins.
Of course.
Dean Atkins.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Perfect.
And I love that contrast. Melbourne, a team that runs on the percentages and knows how to play them. I think Melbourne have such a high floor always, and that is what carries them through the regular season. That's the reason they didn't drop out of the top 4 all season. That's the reason they've been a premiership contender every single year of their entire existence. I was nearly going to say our entire lives, and it does feel, but
it's close,
but it does feel that way. But because Brisbane have that supercharged emotional quality, that can push their ceiling beyond what Melbourne's is. And I think if you wanted to like sum this game up in a sentence, and I am usually adverse to summing things up in only one sentence, but can Brisbane sort of supercharge themselves for long enough to counteract Melbourne's sort of ongoing excellence, right? So Brisbane were able to do that against Canberra, and they were able to do that against Penrith, both times when I thought they were gone. So they could be down by 100 points in this one, and I won't write them off. But to me, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Can Brisbane sustain their best for long enough to take down Melbourne? Because I know Melbourne are going to be able to sustain their best.
A lot of these players in this Broncos team were there 2 years ago, the majority, in fact, and they will remember being up 24-8 or whatever it was with 15 minutes to go in that grand final. And that would have been one of, if not the lowest point in the careers of pretty much every player that experienced that day. And you're completely right, because if Brisbane can find not even 20 minutes, but maybe 2 short bursts in this game where they can go bang, bang and score a couple of tries, that will go so far to winning this game. And then, yeah, you're right. Beyond that, it's about seeing it out to the finish line. They haven't been able to get themselves in a position to do that in these last 2 weeks. But I'll tell you, when they did do that, kind of, was that win over the Storm to finish the regular season, which, again, you can't take that much out of it. But it wasn't like the Storm sent out the Sunshine Coast Lightning, whatever they're called. They were pretty close. That's a netball team. They were pretty close to
the Sunshine Coast Thunder Cougar Falcon Birds.
Exactly. They sent out pretty close to a full-strength team in that game. And Brisbane, I thought that day really showed me something different to what we've seen and how we've seen them win a lot of these big games this year, which is them playing not great for periods of games, and then suddenly you blink and they've scored 3 tries in 4 minutes because Reece Walsh is awesome. In that game, they showed a different way of being able to win. In that
Storm game, I like, you know, there are things I do take out of it because it wasn't that long ago, but Brisbane played with a sustained physical intensity and a sustained aggression in that game that carried them through whatever flat patches they might have had. And in the end, it didn't just beat Melbourne, it overwhelmed them. And on the show last week, when we were talking about if Cronulla could upset Melbourne, I said, like, there's a pretty set pattern against Melbourne in these big games. It's something that, like, Canberra's been able to do quite well on recent occasions. You have to be physical, sometimes past the point of good taste. You know, you have to knock them around, not for every minute of the game, but you have to knock them around more than you get knocked around, right? And you've got to be able to throw some unorthodox things at them, because if you just throw standard attack, Melbourne will just eat it up. They're too well drilled to fall for that sort of thing. And you've got to have a kicking game that can flip field position even if you have a bad set. Brisbane have all 3 of those things.
They do.
You know, applying them through the 80 minutes isn't easy, because if it was easy, they'd win by 100 every week. But they do have the ingredients that have taken down the Melbourne Storm in big games in the past, you know? And I can see this game settling into almost like a reverse pattern of 2023. I think Melbourne will start really well. Melbourne always start well in big games. I can't remember the last time that they didn't. But I think Brisbane will come home late, the way they have these last 2 games. I think there's a resilience there. I think there is a sustained athleticism to their team that helps them get better as games go on, you know, as they get in the fight and start winning it. So I think it'll come down to, can Melbourne build up enough of a barrier that's too much for Brisbane to run down as the game winds down.
Something you mentioned on Monday, which stuck with me, was that the hallmark of the Penrith dynasty was basically never being out enthused at the end of games. The whole reason, not the whole reason, because they have brilliant players, but one of the main reasons why they were always so successful at the end of games and why they were able to pull results out of the fire sometimes and grind teams to death was their fitness levels and their energy levels. And Brisbane were the first team in that prelim last Sunday that looked like they had more energy than Penrith at the end of a game. And beyond all the cool stuff that the Broncos can do, beyond all the super talented players that they have, the kicking game, they've got people like Hunt and Reynolds that you mentioned, the running game of Ezra Mam, the passing and just the X factor of Reece Walsh and their forward pack. Beyond all that, the fact that they were able to get to a fitness level this year where they showed that they could outwork the most hardworking team of all time, outlast them, you know? is so massive to me, and that could, I think, play such a big role in them winning this game.
Well, Haas is a huge part of that.
Of course.
Right?
80 minutes last week.
80 minutes last week.
Absolute
With Carrigan back, I don't think we see that again this time. I would imagine that Haas probably plays 70 minutes. I think he comes off 5 minutes before halftime. So he has that 5-minute break, then the halftime break. Then he's the first change back on after halftime, whenever that is, 5 or 10 minutes. And then it's sprint all the way home. And I think with Carrigan there, they can afford to spell him just a little bit. And that sort of plays into something that relates to what I said earlier about Melbourne having that good start, but I don't think Brisbane can come get him. I think the injection of Willison last week made such a big difference for Brisbane, and he played such a big role in bringing them home, right? And I have no doubt that Melbourne's middles can do well in the opening stages of the match. But once the benches come on, once Willison gets injected into the fray, if you compare it to Melbourne's bench, they've got Alec McDonald, a rugged defender, but more known as a defender. Tui Kamikamica, who is maybe not the strong running presence that he once was. Like Melbourne tried to offload him a couple of times in the middle of the season. And Adivalu Lasardi, who I quite like, but is it a little bit inexperienced? I think Melbourne are going to maybe rely on him a little bit as an impact guy off the bench, you know. And there's other stuff to like about Melbourne's pack, like Katara and Utoi Kamana, and we'll talk more about them later. But if you just compare what the punch that Brisbane can get out of Willison compared to what Melbourne get off their bench, I think that's something that Brisbane can feel good about. Sustaining those non-Haas minutes, and there won't be many of them, but there will be some of them. Willison can carry them through that, you know, and then that allows them to have a fresher Payne Haas for a longer amount of time, which frankly is terrifying.
Yeah, it's red hot, the rotations they've got when they're all fit. And you throw Ezra Mam into the mix as well. How do you see them using him? Do you think it will be similar to
exact same as last week? Exact same as last week. I think after 25 minutes, maybe earlier, maybe later, depending on how the game's going, Pay comes off, Mam comes on, and Hunt goes to hooker. Now that was something that Penrith were able, that sort of change not in the defensive combination is something that Penrith were able to exploit last week. Like I know everyone that's listening to the show is probably sick of me talking about it, but capturing back rowers at marker is a huge part of modern attacks. And Brisbane got caught out with it twice last week. Brendan Piakura got caught at marker once for the first Paul Alamotti try, sorry, Paul, which came early, and then the second one, which came after Mam had come on, right? And they caught Piakura at marker. They had Hunt and Mam defending next to each other, and the Panthers went straight that way, straight to that corner, and Alamotti scored, right? That's the third time in 2 games that Piakura has been caught at marker, and the opposition has scored a try off it. It also happened with the first Kyo Weeks try against the Raiders. I'm just an idiot on a podcast, right? But if I noticed that, I guarantee that someone at Melbourne has noticed that.
You're not an idiot, but that is a great point. And, you know, we talked a lot about on Monday and Tuesday shows about the try that Melbourne scored last week with Pappenhausen. That was noticing Will Kennedy's tendencies as well. And it is a very similar thing. There is no exploit that is going to go unnoticed by the Melbourne Storm. There is no little chink in the armor for anyone that the Melbourne Storm aren't going to see and study and talk about all week long.
And that's that line. So that Piakura edge lines up with Melbourne's right side, which is the Hughes side and the Katoa side. You know, like you and me could be hitting Katoa with short balls and he'll make something of it.
He sure would.
But you get Hughes out there as well, and you know you get Pappenhausen sweeping around. I think that's something that Melbourne will look to. You know, they'll look to sort of kind of build their play down that edge as best they can, particularly in the minutes where Mam's just come on. Mam's a very solid defender for a guy his size. His contact is excellent, but just coming into the game, trying to find his feet and work his way into it, I think that's an opportunity that Melbourne will really, really look to strike.
Yeah, completely. So in terms of the backlines, like Reece Walsh is Brisbane's most important player. He's not bad. And Pappenhausen is not Melbourne's most important player, but he's also fantastic. But the 2 through 5, I mean, we've got the great stories of Karapani and Shibasaki. Marin has been hit and miss, but he had some great moments last week, of course, with the try. The hits are great. But on the and then Staggs is, I think, been along with Farnworth the best center in the competition this year. But Melbourne, they got along with sort of a piecemeal back line for a few weeks there at the back end of the season when they were working some guys back from injuries and other stuff. But right now with Warbrick, Howarth, Meaney, Coates, that's what they've wanted to have all year, and it looked great at times last week. And I really think that they'll want to get at Brisbane defensively on both sides of the field. And I think they'll fancy their chances with the way, not just the edge back rows who are also great because Blaw's back too, but also with the way these centers are playing too.
I kind of think that the centers and the wingers for Melbourne are more finishers than creators. I think the opportunities will come with the spine linking together.
What about that pass Nick Meaney threw last week?
Yeah, that was really sick. But, I think
what if he does it again, Nick?
In terms of things that they're going to look to it's not like you go in there and say, all right, boys, we're drawing this one up around
the Meaney flick pass. Yeah, run it again.
The reason he's able to get that try, right, is because of that nice spine work from the inside that gives him the opportunity to make that play. That's more of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like the centers and the wingers can finish chances for them, but the creation of that will come from two or more of the spine linking together or them working off Bloor or working off Katoa. Melbourne, in their current form, very classically constructed team, that work from the inside out. I actually think with the backlines, I think Brisbane maybe have some juicier targets than Melbourne do, because I just think of the idea of like getting Haas 2 passes wide and putting him on Jahrome Hughes.
if you get Haas out there, for sure.
Something like that,
which he did a couple of times on Sunday.
Yeah, or getting Piakura running some of those really nice lines on Hughes. Our friend Martin Gabor, who was the guest on the Melbourne show, made the good point that Piakura is the one that broke Hughes' arm, which I'd completely forgotten about. And Piakura does have a great line in him, and he hasn't quite had the breakout game in this final series yet. He's one that I'm looking for in more ways than one, And I think if they get Piakura and Shibasaki running on either side of Hughes, because Shibasaki runs a lot of patterns that are quite similar to back row patterns.
Yep.
I feel like that's something they'll feel really good about. And both tries that Cronulla scored while the game was alive last week came through punching on the outside of Jack Howarth because he wasn't quite getting up in the defender's face. If you don't get up in Katoni Staggs' face, he's going to knock you over, run back to your house and burn it down. You know what I mean? Like, he's as destructive as center, destructive as a player as exists in this sport right now.
His runs with ball in hand are as damaging right now as a center that I've seen in anyone since Latrell Mitchell was playing center.
So I really like that they can have that contrast. I think they can run some nice shape to their left and target Hughes and Meaney, and then I think it can just be nice early ball to their right and try and get Staggs one-on-one with Howarth, or really just on anyone,
Yeah, and that's interesting as well, because we discussed about the Sharks and how we thought that they might go after Hughes a lot because the Sharks are a very left-sided team by nature. The Broncos, like, all their best moments come down the right with Walsh and Staggs.
I wouldn't say all their best.
Not all their best, but
they have a great balance, because Walsh can genuinely play
I wouldn't say
both
like
sides.
a vast majority, but I'd say a small majority. Like, I would say more often than not, they go right than left, right?
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Not by
the notebook only has
feels
so many
like a
answers.
vibes thing. Move past it. But anyway, so I think it would be very important for them to not get caught into the trap of targeting Hughes too much. I feel like if they just play their natural game and let it happen, it will happen. And I think they're smart enough to not get drawn into just like forcing the ball that way, which would be of detriment to their attack as a whole because of how good Katoni Staggs has been.
Well, like I said earlier, they're a team that runs on emotion, right? And I think that's a good thing. But sometimes something like that can happen and they can get a little bit scattered. I thought in that first half against Penrith, the effort was tremendous. Like, they were throwing themselves around like crazy, but it was also a little bit loose,
a little frantic,
and a little bit scattered. And it took that halftime break for them to sort of refocus and really kind of like channel everything in the right direction, So I think that's a good point that you make. I want them to target Hughes, but I want it to just be a normal part of the attack. When they get Haas 2 passes wide against anyone, it's awesome.
Yeah.
When they get Piakura and Shibasaki testing a defender on both sides, it's awesome. When they get Walsh floating down an edge and linking with someone else in the spine, it's awesome. So just do the awesome things. Why wouldn't you?
So easy.
Yeah, I know.
You're
right?
a genius.
Yeah, easy done.
The coach whisperer himself. If Brisbane do get on top in terms of the forward battle, which is entirely possible given they have Payne Haas in their team and also some other guys who are also pretty good. Harry Grant's been so important to what Melbourne are doing, especially when Hughes was out. Now Hughes is back. Harry Grant was still great last Friday. He's fantastic. What are some things Harry Grant can do to help put his team on the front foot if the forwards aren't winning that advantage battle?
I think he's got to just take advantage of any chance that comes his way. And by that, I don't mean like trying to duck over from dummy half with the Declan Campton special, shout out pup. It's more like we think of the forward battle as being an absolute thing, like Brisbane win the middle, and that means they win every tackle, and it's not really like that.
No. But I'm all in if they're having to kick from inside their 40.
I'm getting there. Harry Grant only needs one quick play the ball anywhere on the field, and then and then he's off, and then anything can happen. And a good example of that is the Xavier Coates try.
Everyone thought a kick was coming.
Yeah, and so it's one good run, and it's not from one of the forwards. It's from Cameron Munster. It's on his own 30, but he has a really good run. It's a really quick play the ball. Both markers are still on the ground when he plays it. And Grant just goes, and all of a sudden the defense is sucked in, and he spins it wide, and off you go. So I don't think this Melbourne side will be able to win the middle every single minute of the game, but they might only need one run.
Yeah.
They might only need one big run from Steph, or one big run from Katoa, or a big run from Munster, a big run from anybody, and then bang, Grant's in the game, and then we're cooking. Then it's panic stations.
You love Jahrome Hughes.
I sure do.
Who doesn't? But you really love Jahrome Hughes.
all red-blooded Australian, well, maybe not Australians, all red-blooded Kiwis should, brother. It's Kia ora time, baby.
Absolutely. His recovery time is nothing short of a medical miracle, to the point where some in the media were theorizing that the injuries were all a big smokescreen.
Who was theorizing this?
I don't know, me. But how do you see him impacting this game? This guy was the best player in the comp last year. Obviously wasn't as good as he was in 2024, but still such a key man in this game. Such a key man for them last week. Scores that great try, which was kind of the moment we all went, oh, yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
How do you see him impacting?
Well, you know what? I was thinking about this week. He was the best player in the league last year.
Absolutely.
Thoroughly deserved that Dally M.
100%.
And was brilliant in the first week of the finals, and was exceptional in the preliminary final against the Roosters. And then in the grand final, he wasn't that great. He just wasn't. Just wasn't his night. He wasn't able to get any of his regular stuff going. He just had a really quiet game, and if he is the competitor that he seems to be from the outside, I'm sure that's something that is in the back of his mind. It's not something I've seen spoken about this week, but I'm sure it's something that he would think about at the very, very least. I think the key for Hughes to get into any game is to run the footy. I know that's a very easy thing to say about halves, but this is a guy that had a background as a fullback, and his best work comes when he's playing straight and direct and taking on the line. I think that combination between him and Katoa is probably going to be Melbourne's most reliable weapon all night.
Yeah.
In terms of stuff that you can predict. It's not easy to predict when Harry Grant's going to do something crazy, or when the monkey bashing the cymbals is going to start going off in Munster's head and crazy shit happens.
There are two things that I'm certain will happen, and that is a healthy diet of short balls to Katoa, and also some kicks through the edge to give him a chance.
Yeah.
And the other one is they'll bomb to Coates at some point.
Yeah.
Those are things that will definitely happen.
Two things that'll definitely happen. But I think as long as Hughes and Katoa stick together, right, and as long as they're trying to get their stuff going, because their combination is excellent with passes, with kicks, with offloads, with the whole deal. Feel like it's the sort of thing where Katoa can bring Hughes into the game, and Hughes can bring Katoa into the game, and as that combination keeps going, something if I was a Storm fan, I would feel better and better and better about. So, and I think that's a good thing for Hughes, because it's hard to win a game on your own, but it's easier to win a game with your buddies. And he's got his big buddy from Tonga.
I don't know if you were aware of this, but I wanted your reaction live when I read this out. No, it's not about you. It's about Eli Katoa.
Oh, okay.
So there was a paper of note that ranked all 34 players in the grand final today.
Yep.
And then readers were able to go on and vote whether they should be higher or lower. Eli Katoa is ranked 14th among both teams.
Who's 13th? Who's the most egregious?
I don't have the whole list. This is just from the editor at large saying that Stefano was 6th, Eli Katoa was 14th, and Willison was 27th.
That is, I know what paper of note this ranking's in. I might give the author a call.
Okay.
Maybe an anonymous letter.
Eli Katoa, 14th best player in the grand final.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. He's the best back rower in the world.
He's so good.
He's the best back rower in the world. I talk about him every single week. I will talk about him every single week until he retires. The first bet I put on this week was Eli Katoa man of the match.
I'm so happy we got you dying inside when I read that out.
Just in support. Even if he doesn't win man of the match, I just want to be a part of it. I want him to know that I believe in him, bro. But he shapes as a huge part of Melbourne's game, right? Like, not just with his attacking, just because he's got such a breadth of ways to impact the match. Like, we all know that he runs great lines. We all know that he's really fast and can hit a hole. We all know that he can get up there and catch kicks as well. Lately, well, this year at least, he's become a better yardage man as well. And I think that's something that Melbourne will rely on.
They'll need help, for sure.
And so I think that's something to really, really look to. That's a nice way of pivoting into the Utui Kamanu chat because, as you can tell from that ranking thing, his stock is extremely high.
It has
right now.
Here's the thing, right? In the first half of the year, where I didn't think he was going great,
he was flat out going bad.
I had
don't worry about.
I had a lot of people saying to me, "Oh, but he's gone to how about how good's he been since he went down to Melbourne?" And I kind of went, "Have you been watching their games?"
Well, they had, it's a trick that you can play on yourself. Everyone goes to Melbourne and gets better. Well, not everyone,
but I do notice that
sometimes it takes time.
There are particular players on the Storm, the Raiders, the Warriors, the Cowboys, even who get either too much raps or not enough raps just because people don't watch them week to week. Right? They're not teams that people in Sydney think about. But for the last few weeks, he's been awesome. And I think that the way he's been playing is just that physical presence that you need a prop like that to win a comp. You need one. Me and Grub talked about it on Tuesday. You need a guy like that. Not necessarily Payne Haas, because there's only one Payne Haas, and when it's all said and done, he may be the best prop we have ever seen. Yeah. And I don't mean to be hyperbolic when I say that. Yeah.
You need a horse.
So you need a horse.
You got to have a lead horse.
And until he stepped up and became this version of Stefano Utoikamanu, they didn't have one.
Didn't have a lead
horse. They had
horse.
Nelson Asafa-Solomona, who's not even playing in this game, who was the previous horse.
Yeah.
And now they've got this guy who's playing great. He's obviously not Payne Haas. And I'm not suggesting that he's like on that level, but he's been really, really, really
well,
good.
He's become a very important player for them.
Very important.
Right? And I can't believe that he was the one that sort of lit the fuse for grand final with the stuck-up Broncos thing. I love that too. I love it when players say that sort of thing because I think it just sort of adds to the build-up and the intrigue and the excitement and all of that. He's extremely important for him, right? And I had a look at the 2 games that he's played in the finals, which is probably the 2 best games that he's had for Melbourne.
For sure.
And I was really struck by something. Both games, he has the 2 stints, as most front rowers do, and both of them, he has 1 stint that is passable and 1 stint that is fucking animale, you know? So against the Dogs, his first stint is 8 runs for 50 meters, right? That's nice. That's good stuff. His second stint, 9 runs for 82 meters, 2 offloads, right? And then against the Sharks, 9 runs for 80 meters in his first stint, 6 tackle busts, 4 offloads. His second stint, 6 runs for 45 meters. So the performances that he's been having aren't stuff the stat sheet ones. They are ones where the impact of his runs have been very important. And in both of those games, he's only managed to do it in the 1 stint, right? And those stints are when Melbourne was able to take control of the game. Against the Dogs, he was the one that turned it when he came back on and Melbourne were able to take control. I felt like he really set the tone for him with that first stint against the Sharks. If they're going to win this game, they need 2 of them. They need him doing double duty. 1, I don't think will be enough. I think we need a big one, both sides of it.
You're saying Utah, give me 2.
I'm saying Utah, give me 2. I'm saying hit him with the cattle prod before he goes back on.
Yeah.
And then say that, you know those stuck up guys on the Broncos? They told me to do this.
Yeah. They were laughing at you.
They're laughing at you, Steph.
Yeah.
Get into him.
And he'll get into him.
He will get. Well, hopefully.
The way he's been playing, it would be silly to not expect him to be able to continue that. But it's interesting that you're right. 1 good stint, 1 okay one. We need 2 good ones.
And they need the 2 good ones, definitely.
And I think they can get it out of him. We'll see. It's a grand final. No tomorrow. That's why I'm so excited for this, because there are all the stuff about managing the game, managing next week, worrying about the season. It all goes out the window on Sunday. It's great. There's none of that. There's no tomorrow.
Would you say there's no love lost?
I would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bit of love lost. Not a lot of love lost. There's no love lost.
I'll tell you where there's no love lost, because I still love him with all my heart. That's Michael Maguire.
Yeah. Would you say he's a winner?
I would say Michael Maguire is a winner, Nick. A great question. A very handsome one.
I had to listen to a few other podcasts that we did earlier this year, just trying to find what sort of takes we had about these 2 teams during the season.
Please regard everything I said about Adam Reynolds as a joke.
Dude, I reckon you said Michael Maguire is a winner on 6 different occasions.
Okay, well, I stand by
it. And then you said, he's just a winner. He won at Souths. He won in the Super League, I presume. He won with New Zealand. He won with the Blues, and now he's winning with Brisbane. Michael Maguire is just a winner. Yeah. Tigers redacted. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Super League intentionally dismissive part is an intentional.
It's a joke that you keep going back to.
By the way,
But I chuckled at it every time.
Did you read the War and Peace link statement that Lee Leopard's chairman released
What's
today?
going on?
That was the longest club statement I've ever read.
What is going on over there?
Give him more tickets, Wigan.
It was all caps as well.
All caps, yelling for an hour, just into a fucking computer. Oh.
Someone else who's very close to your heart, is Adam Reynolds.
Absolutely,
right? You've been on a journey with him.
I have.
2023, he had a tough game.
Yep.
There's no way around it.
Nope.
He's on the brink now of winning a grand final with a second club.
Hard to do.
The only other halfback in modern times who's been able to do that is Cooper Cronk.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Cronk's also the only player with this sort of gap between premierships if Reynolds is able to get up. How you feeling about him, man? How you feeling about his chances for Sunday? How you feeling about what this game, and we are on ESPN, how you feeling about this game for his legacy?
What does this game mean? No, look.
Reynolds needs to step up.
So the thing, whilst this game carries so much weight for anyone that was there in 2023, right?
Yeah.
It would be silly to assume that it doesn't. And even if people go, oh, that's out of our minds, I straight up do not believe anyone if they were to say that.
Do you think Reynolds has it most of all? Do you think he carries it the most?
But of course he does. Why, Nick? Because he had it in 2021 as well. Not only is he coming off a grand final loss in heartbreaking circumstances 2 years ago, he's coming off a grand final loss in heartbreaking circumstances 4 years ago.
I hadn't thought about the 2 year sequence.
In which
1-3-5.
The game was on his. It's unfair to say the whole game, but the game came down to a kick that he missed, and he exercised those demons last Sunday. And I was on the edge of my seat on my couch, cheering him on, willing him to make that kick on Sunday.
Yeah,
and he did. And it was, and I can't remember who tweeted it, but someone saying the Penrith dynasty started and ended with Adam Reynolds' boot from the sideline. Beautiful, perfect. That chapter's closed. He's redeemed himself for 2021. Now it's time to redeem himself in 2023. I didn't think he had a great game.
No,
that
he
night.
didn't.
He was quite poor.
Yeah,
and they targeted him defensively as well. And I don't know how much Melbourne will do that, but I do know that he's a very smart player and he's very aware of everything that's going on. And he won't have forgotten about what happened 2 years ago or 4 years ago. And he's a guy that won't want the tag of being the dude that's lost 3 grand finals in a row either. Nobody wants that tag. And the other additional level of pressure for him, and they've come through it after last week when he, won them the game with a sideline conversion. But there was a lot of talk, not from me or you. We both thought he would come straight back into the team, but there was a lot of talk from people that, well, the Broncos are rolling. Should they bring back Mam? Should they bring back Reynolds? Should they bring back Cobbo? They're not bringing back Cobbo, but they brought back the other 2 guys. Mam on the bench, so he's kind of just impacting now when he comes on. But Reynolds was straight back into the starting lineup, and there was this. People were going, well, if this attack isn't clicking with him back,
Hunter and Billy,
then it's like, what if Hunter and Billy was the key to unlocking
crazy cousin of my rowdy uncle?
What if that was the key to unlocking Reece Walsh's full potential, which is the best version of the Broncos? And for the first hour of that game.
Well, you know what? We say that that's the best version of the Broncos, but Reynolds with his kicking game gives them an opportunity.
How did they get back into that game?
With
the
that
first try is him kicking to Staggs.
Yeah.
And then the end of the game where they take the lead is him nailing kick from the sideline after Reece Walsh had missed quite an easy conversion earlier in the match. So yeah, there's more. I think pressure is a relative term. I don't think you can linearly assign pressure to everyone arbitrarily. Because you can't just
there's pressure on all of them.
But yes, but what I mean is like each person in life feels more pressure. Like you might feel more pressure than me right now being on a camera than I do, and I might feel more pressure than you talking into a microphone, and I can assign pressure ratings to all these players in terms of how much I think that they would be under pressure from a neutral point of view. And from that point of view, I would think Adam Reynolds is under the most pressure.
Yeah.
Just because of all that stuff.
I just think in terms of like the context of his career, he might have the most.
It's grand final week when you actually said context and not a different word.
I know. We got to be serious now. But I think there's a chance. I think he's the halfback. Of course, he's going to be very important for Brisbane. But I think there's an avenue that Brisbane can go down. I haven't seen many teams do it. I really want to see him get the ball in the air at Pappenhausen as much as possible. And it's not necessarily about contesting it because Pappenhausen is good under the high ball. Just go down there and smash him.
Pull his hair, you say?
maybe not like that. But, kicking directly to Karapani or Mariner, they're both trucks, man. They'll both run it 15 times for 200 meters. No worries in the world.
Yeah, but they're not winning.
Sorry. I'm getting mixed up here. Coates and Warbrick, who are the same. They're both trucks, right? Okay. And Coates has gotten way better out of his own end. Brick's always been pretty good at it. But if they can get down on Pappenhausen, accelerate down with the chase, stop him linking up with his wings, force him to return a lot of the kicks, I think that's something that could really help them get their sets off to a good start. And that will start with how Reynolds gives them.
Yeah, I wonder how they.
Ball,
I wonder how they will attack the attacking kicking game, especially because Warbrick is maybe even better than Coates defensively under kicks. I think Coates is the best air weapon in attack in the game.
That's what I would like to see.
Warbrick is so safe under kicks.
Not all the time, just once or twice. Get Coates into the middle of the field, chasing a bomb up there.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
I think Brisbane will have watched the game from last Friday, and Tricky Trindle bombed Warbrick, I reckon, 70 times in that game, and he passed every test with flying colours. So that's not an avenue that I think they can exploit, as great as Adam Reynolds' kicking game can be. So I think you're right. They got to look elsewhere. They got to look to the middle of.
So but that's I think is probably the biggest thing I'm looking for from Reynolds in this match. I know that he's going to play nice and straight and set up chances for his outside men, or at least give them the room to do stuff. Right? Yeah. He's done that for 1,000 years. He could do it for 1,000 more. But the kicking game, and particularly his duel with Pappenhausen specifically in terms of kicking and receiving, I think that's the biggest avenue that he can sort of impact the match.
Yeah, for sure. So who haven't we talked about yet that we'd like to talk about?
Two guys. We'll go on Melbourne guy because we just went a Brisbane guy. Munster.
He's really good at footy.
He's really good at footy.
Love it. One of my favourites of all time.
That Melbourne spine.
Oh, right?
Yeah. I think over the years, there is like an ebb and flow thing as to which one of them is the best at any given time. And I think between Hughes, Grant, and Munster, there's also a real give and take about which of them is the more dominant player at any one time. And they're really good at swapping between all those things. There's a versatility to that spine, which is what makes them so dangerous. But right now, I think Munster is the best player in that spine. And I think Munster is the dominant playmaking presence in this spine in terms of Grant touches the ball more, but Munster is touching the ball as much as any half in the competition. He's running the ball heaps. He's doing it all over the field. He is just so present from minute to minute and tackle to tackle and set to set. And it's for that reason that I think if Melbourne win, I think Munster is close to a lock for man of the match. A lock.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Like the Clive Churchill medal can be a narrative-based award, right? And there are so many narratives around Cam Munster all the time, you know, particularly with some of the things he's gone through away from footy this year. But I just think if Melbourne are to win this game, Munster he could have 15 runs, you know? He's just going to be so present through every aspect of this game if things are going well for Melbourne that I think we could get to full time. And if the Storm have won, it'll just be like Munster's fingerprints were all over everything, you know? And I think that's a mark of the progression that he's really made as a half, probably over this season more than anywhere else. He was already probably the best 5'8" in the competition, right? He's already a folk hero in Queensland for what he'd done for the Origin team. But I think this year he's had a more consistent season at club level, a more productive season at club level, more try assists this year than any other year of his career.
Who did win 5/8 of the year last night? Was it Strange?
It was Strange. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't sure because that was the one. That was the one that you and I disagreed on. Was 5/8, and I genuinely didn't know who won.
Yeah. So I think it's the sort of thing where him growing into this kind of player, you know, at this stage of his career, I think is what has helped push Melbourne over the top and be a better team than last year. That might not be enough to take down Brisbane.
Ball running Munster set up the killer try last week, and conniving clever Munster with that left-footed kick set up the try that broke the game.
Exactly.
He can hurt you in so many different ways.
He can do it so many different ways. So I think his progression has helped make Melbourne better than last year. That might not be enough to take down the Broncos. Yeah. But he, to me, is at the very heart of their chances.
Because I think this Melbourne team is much better than they were last year. Maybe not much, but I think they're a better team now.
Yeah, I think they're better.
Much is probably a bit strong. I think they're better this year than they were last year, and they're in the same position. Even though like Hughes was the Dally M last year, I completely agree with everything you just said. Munster's playing great. They've got all four spine guys all playing well at the moment, which hasn't always happened. And then Utsukamanu, as we said, they've got that guy. That's a difference maker they didn't have last year. They got Katoa, who was great last year, but is now last year, if you said Katoa was the best backer in the world, you'd get pushback.
And I would have said it.
I
would have said it.
I think you would have been maybe correct, but you would have got pushback. This year, if you say it, there's no pushback.
Yeah,
there's none. Everyone just is like,
everyone's coming around.
Yeah, everyone is coming around.
Everyone's on
so they
they
are a little bit better. They're a little bit better than they were last year. But I think that if they were playing the 2024 Panthers, I'd give them a red hot chance. But this game stylistically, this game is going to be so good. I think but I just can't. I really struggle with the idea that Brisbane aren't going to be able to find enough points to win this game with how their attack has just been and the way that we've seen that they don't have to be good in attack for 80 minutes. They only have to be good in attack for 15 to win all these games, and they score 30 points as they did against Canberra, as they did against Penrith.
Well, you know what? Against Penrith, they found those chances in the last 15. But they were good for the 10 minutes preceding that. They were. They had to work really hard.
And they turned Penrith away at their try line 3 or 4 times in a row.
Really hard.
They did.
To get themselves in a position to strike.
For sure.
You know, so I appreciate what you're saying. I just don't want us to think of Brisbane as just like, it's 10 minutes of magic or whatever. It's like they have the graft.
Yeah. If they hadn't shown
build
me
the foundations for
what they showed me
10
in that win against Melbourne 3 weeks ago and what they showed me before the points outburst last weekend, that period before that you're talking about, those two things show me that this team is capable and well-rounded enough to win a premiership.
Yeah. One more thing about Munster before we
Yeah.
go over to the last individual I want to talk about. Something that Canberra did quite well in that first week was exploiting Welsh's positional play defensively.
Yep.
The first time they did it was for the Hudson Young try. The second time they did it was for the Seb Chris try. Penrith weren't quite able to do it as much for whatever reason, but I think that's something that Munster will look for down the left. He loves an early kick, and I think it's something Hughes will look for down the right as well, with Katoa as the main chaser. That's something I think that they'll both look for very, very much. The last guy that I want to talk about before we go on to the tips is one of my favorites, one of your great enemies.
I've come around.
Ben Hunt.
That's not my enemy. That's silly. Now it gets that you talk about redemption stories.
Well, you know what? It's funny. So that grand final drop back in 2015 has followed him ever since. Yeah. He has admitted that he thinks about it all the time.
And who can blame him?
I think he speaks very well about
he does.
it. And I think he's done a great job to rebuild his career in the decade since, because some guys that could have been it.
Yeah. You get the yips off that and you never come back.
Get that. Yeah. But I think he's become a better player since then. And when he had that great try in Origin 3 of 2020,
Go Dozer, the iconic moment. 2022.
I'm losing my mind.
It's 22.
When he had that great try in Game 3 of 22, everyone said, the monkey's off his back. He did it. Big game redemption for Ben Hunt. But then when he kicked the field goal against the Raiders, everyone said the same thing. Big game redemption for Ben Hunt, right? The fact of the matter is that grand final drop will follow him until he wins a premiership.
Correct.
Until then, every big play he makes in a big game, people will go, redemption for the grand final drop, but they won't mean it.
No.
They won't mean it. They'll go back to it the next time he's in a big spot. Right?
It's how I feel about Reynolds, because as I said, like, he redeemed himself for that missed conversion on Sunday, but he himself will know that it ultimately doesn't mean anything unless they win the game this weekend.
I am not actively going for either team, right? I just want to bet that both teams have a good time out there, right? I don't have an emotional dog in the fight, except for Ben Hunt. I really want this for Ben Hunt. I really want this for Ben Hunt. He's been a long time favorite of mine. People have laughed at me in the past because I've called him a winner. But to me, a winner is someone who, no matter the odds or no matter what else is going on, never stops trying to win, never stops fighting for the win. Winning is in the process and not in the result. And to me, Ben Hunt is a great, great example of that. He's the oldest player in the league. He's the last player left in this competition who debuted in the first year of the first decade of the 2000s. I love that stat as well. He's the last guy of his time. He's the last man standing, the last man from that era of the sport. And all these years later, in a really big game, the Broncos are still going to look to him, and he's still going to be really important. On rewatch, he had a really good game in the prelim, really led the line defensively when he went to hooker, which, to be honest with you, I didn't think he could do anymore. I thought this year he has gotten a little bit older and the age has caught up with him a little bit. And I had concerns about him playing big minutes at hooker or just big minutes in the middle of the field, but he was able to do it, and I know there's an element of fortune with the Willison try with the ball hitting the ground or whatever, but the chances there and the gaps are there because Hunt's able to create out of hooker.
And an elite point at Willison. Go that way.
Mate, that's leadership. That's leadership.
Run over there and put the ball down.
So a lot of these Broncos guys have either had great success in the past or will have great success in the future. Yeah. This could be Hunt's last chance.
It could.
I reckon
he retires if they win.
Maybe.
If they win, I reckon he retires on the spot.
But I want this for him because of the perseverance that he showed. I want this for him because of the grace that he's been able to carry some of the things that have happened to him. I know he's not. I know a lot of people maybe soured on him a little bit because of that last year at the Dragons. That had to happen the way it did. But I love how much he loves the Broncos. I love how much he loves being back there. There was a great shot that the Caxton Hotel
I was about to mention this,
put on their Instagram this week, and it's Haas and a few of the other boys having lunch there. And Ben Hunt's there in a 92.
Everyone else wearing just printed T-shirts, and he's wearing a 92.
He's wearing his
Broncos
92
jersey.
throwback jersey. I'm like, that is a real Bronco man. You know what I mean? And I really want this for him. I first watched him in a grand final 17 years ago. against the Raiders, right, in that Holden Cup grand final.
Mm.
And he was the Holden Cup player of the year that year. He was sensational, right? And he looked every bit like he could have this big future that he's had. But he lost that game, and he didn't play great. And he lost in 2015, and even before the drop, he hadn't played great. And he's become a much better big game player since then. I think it's the sort of thing where he got the reps in, and he's become something different. And I just really want this for him. I really do.
All right, it's prediction time. Start with the score line.
I don't have a score.
That's fine. I'm sure you can.
I only have a result.
10 pages
I only
of
have a
notes.
result, bro.
So
No, we got to finish with the score line. We got to
Okay.
start with the try score,
All right.
then man of the match, and then
okay.
score.
I would be remiss if I didn't. This game to me for the Broncos is all about redemption in so many ways. Reynolds, Hunt, every dude that was there in 2023.
Yep.
But another guy who we gave comeback player of the year to on our impromptu award show a couple of days ago is Gehamat Shibasaki. And he's a guy that hasn't come back from a grand final defeat of that, but has responded to being bounced out of club after club after club to find a home at this point in his career. When he was named starting center in the preseason, I think it's charitable to say it was met with skepticism from Broncos fans.
I said to multiple people, I said he's clearly had a great off season, and this is clearly a message to Mariner and Cobbo
to
and the
fire
like.
up.
But this
within 6 weeks.
But this will pass. This will pass, and they'll have the rocket up him, and they'll work their way back. And not only has he stayed in the team, he's just gotten better and better and better. He got into an Origin decider and played great in it. Got the better of Stephen Crichton.
Hard to do
in that game.
Hard to do.
He managed, bro. He shaved off his goatee. And still managed to play pretty well. I couldn't believe that. I thought it was over.
Yeah.
When he cut that shit off.
Oh, mate, absolutely. But he didn't. And so I'm going with him first try, just for the sentimentality factor of it.
He's on my list.
Well, you and Martin Gabor between you will have backed every player.
No. I'm just chucking a couple of names.
Right.
I want the people to make money, bro.
That's true.
This is when we make the money. I think Shiba's a really good option because of that stuff I was talking about. I think early in games, playmakers like to favor hitting blokes short rather than going over the top, right? It's something Cooper Cronk talks about a lot. It's like body work in a fight. It pays off down the line, and you can start doing that early. And I think Shiba is a really good option, and I think he's a really good price as well. For that same reason, right? If you don't look at Blore and or Katoa first try, then I'm sorry, you just don't watch Melbourne Storm games. You know what I'm saying? The Melbourne Storm back rowers have been scoring first tries in big games forever. I've been betting on it to happen since I was 14 years old, and I'm pretty sure I'm up on that. You know what I mean?
Playing the role of Ryan Hoffman this week is Katoa.
So definitely look at those two. I know Katoa is the much shorter price, but I wouldn't mind a bit of Blore either. And then just one thing that I was just idly thinking about. It's been 7 years since a winger scored the first try in a grand final.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Was that 2019?
18. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
In that time, 3 dummy halves have scored first in the grand final.
Yeah.
But no wingers.
Wow.
No fullbacks.
Mitch Kenny, Billy Walters. No. Mitch Kenny for sure.
Yep.
Oh, the other Sam Verrills, obviously. And I'm blanking. Who's the other one?
Harry Grant last year.
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry.
Yeah. So I don't know if that had anything to do with that has anything to do with anything, but it's just something worth noting. So maybe a buck or two on Karapani or something like that. Even that's a great story.
Yeah,
I haven't talked about that.
Not really, but yeah, another former.
It's not really a great story.
Well, for parts of it, but he's made good of it. So who are you locking in?
I'll lock in Shiver as well.
I like that.
Let's both
Solidarity.
Do it. Let's both do it.
Let's go.
Let's both do it.
Man of the match. I think if Brisbane win, and I'm going to tip Brisbane later, realistically,
just give it away.
Well, I mean,
give it away.
I think you get what you're going to do. What you can do an Ireland win, but Crum gets the snitcher. Are you going to pick a Dally M winner from a Clive Churchill winner from the losing team?
Fuck, I might now.
Oh,
that's
jeez,
a great idea.
You made me sick. So I think if Brisbane win, you're right. It's a narrative-based award. But the reason for some of these narratives is because all these players are awesome, and Brisbane can't win unless they continue to be awesome. I think if Brisbane win, the Dally M will be won by
Clive Churchill.
So I keep doing it. The Clive Churchill medal will be won by one of Payne Haas, Ben Hunt, Reece Walsh, and Adam Reynolds. And I think Reece Walsh is the best player on either team, which is no mean feat because both these teams have several awesome players, including the 2024 Dally M winner. But if they're going to win, it's going to be off the back of Reece Walsh doing a bunch of cool stuff. And I want to see that live. We both do. So I'm going to say Reece Walsh, Clive Churchill.
Yeah. So Walsh, absolutely in the mix. I mentioned Munster earlier. I think if Melbourne win, I think he is almost a certainty. I'm going to put some money on Ben Hunt, even though I don't think he's going to win just because I want to be involved.
Narrative, though. He could win it.
But my pick is actually outside those guys that you mentioned. It's Pat Carrigan.
Yeah, right.
It's Pat Carrigan because narrative-based award, and I could
He's very handsome as well.
Very handsome, high profile. I could see something developing where Carrigan's inclusion helps push Brisbane over the top of Melbourne. And everyone goes, oh, Carrigan, back from suspension. He runs for 160 metres. He throws some really nice passes out of first receiver. So, like the footy, intellectuals think they're being really clever.
Should we start telling people that it's like the Dally M's and that because he got suspended for a finals game, he's ineligible for the Clive Churchill medal?
Let's spread that rumour on game day.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That way only you and I can bet on it.
Yeah. So, like, I'll spread the love around with the Clive Churchill.
Of course you will.
With the Clive Churchill betting. But, Carrigan is what I'm zeroing in on a little bit,
Okay. Finals winner and final score. I mean, mine is tipped because I had to do this on the Grub show, but I'm going Brisbane 26, Melbourne 22. I think there's some points in this game for both teams. I think it's almost impossible to contain the Broncos, like we saw for 60 minutes last week, where the Panthers were pitching a shutout. And then what happened? They scored a bunch of tries because it's just really hard to stop this team with all the weapons they have from scoring a few points. And I think Melbourne themselves will acknowledge that, but also Melbourne have shown Melbourne's attack this year has at times been fantastic, and they as well are so difficult to contain. So I think it will be a little bit more high scoring than usual. I'm going 26-22 Broncos.
I've been flip flopping all week, because again I don't really have an emotional stake in this at all, and I am someone who follows their emotion with footy probably more than I should. So I've been turning it over in my head, watching a lot of footage of them through the year, talking to smart footy people, just trying to, not even figuring out what I think is going to happen, just trying to figure out what I think about the two teams. I don't know if it'll be high scoring, but I would be surprised if either team ever gets that far away from the other, and if it is a match that is close all the way, I think those fast Brisbane finishes can be enough to get it done for them. So I'm going to go Brisbane by 2.
Okay.
20 points to 18.
Love it.
And they recover from an 18-8 deficit with 20 minutes to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Spicy.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. Really looking forward to it. I mean, the grand final day is always good. Real quick, run through. We might have some new listeners because it's grand final week. Run people through the routine.
Shit. Okay, so
it's a great routine.
So always get the fade during the week at some point. Non-negotiable. Got to happen. You got to look your best. You got to look sharp. Get a fade so sharp you cut your fingers on it. Night before the game, what's your favorite finals game from the past between these two teams? It doesn't have to be a grand final. Just has to be a big game. Ancillary to that, have random grand final replays on all through the week. KO is playing heaps of them. Just have the TV on in the background. Soak up the vibes. Get into it as best you can. Day of the game. Exercise the morning of the game. Get a sweat on. You got to do it. You got to work out the nerves. You got to get sharp. You got to get ready for things. On the way back, pull in at the pub. Put all your bets on. Must be paper tickets. Has to be paper tickets. I have to feel them in my hand. I know the betting companies have a lot of great promos and all that, but this is more important. Buy the newspapers as well. Newspapers, dead medium. Physical media, people hate it. I get it, but you need that tactile feel, man. You got to flip through those pages. You got to flip through the pages.
Smell
man.
of the ink.
You got to get the smell of the ink. You got to look at the lift outs that they put in there, where they spread the teams out and all that. You got to read that, man. You got to get fired up. Me personally, I like to get there for all three grades. I know that is not popular, especially given the state championship does not light a lot of fires in people, but it could be a game between two pub sides, and I would be there as soon as I can be, because you want to build into the big game at the end slowly. You want to see the stadium fill up. You want to see the sun go down. Importantly, pace yourself. Don't get carried out by the Coppers halfway through the NRLW game. And afterwards, it's a Sunday night. It's a public holiday. It's a public holiday on the Monday. Can be difficult to find somewhere that's open. So make sure before you go to the game that your fridge is stocked and you can have the boys over for a post-match debrief, if nothing else, right? Because if the pubs are closed, you got to be able to go somewhere. What are you meant to do? Just go home? Can't go home.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a great day.
Great day.
Sage advice. All right. Some try scoring things. StatMate, download the app today. If you're interested in who's been scoring a lot of tries when these two teams play or in recent games, Katoni Staggs, 4 tries in his last 5 games. Will Warbrick, 7 tries in his last 5 games against Brisbane. That's a lot.
Pretty good.
That's not bad.
But doesn't that include a hat-trick in the last round of last year?
Yeah, probably.
Well, yeah.
Josiah Karapani, 9 of his 12 matches, including one against the Storm last time they played. Harry Grant has scored in both of his last 2 games at Homebush. That's a good one.
Yep.
And Ryan Pappenhausen, 4 of his last 6 at Homebush. So
Right.
the boys love Homebush. The Storm boys. They played a lot of big games there, mainly grand finals.
Yeah, they're the only ones that love Homebush.
I don't. I can't wait till we move. It's never going to happen, is it?
Mate, why don't you start another petition?
Oh,
why don't you
okay.
release another jumper that looks really nice?
Yeah, let's make t-shirts and take a victory lap before we get the ink dotted and then look stupid afterwards. Fantastic. All right. NRLW Grand Final, 4:00 kickoff. The Roosters, the Broncos. We have talked at length about the concerns we have about the NRLW going forward. We will not do that today. We'll put that to the side. We will park it to just talk about this game, which has the potential to be the best game of women's rugby league that has ever been played.
I need it. I need it to be as good as I'm imagining it that it can be. There is so much star power here. There is so much history between these two teams that we get into a little bit later. The Broncos fans means that I think that there will be a big atmosphere here too. I remember back when Parramatta played the Knights back in 2022, because Parramatta were in the men's game as well. There was a real building of the atmosphere around the stadium as Parramatta went for that comeback, so everything's in place for this to be sick. And I need it, man. I need it.
Yeah. Brisbane are the favourites, only just. I think that's probably fair. I know the Roosters won when they played earlier this year, but I think the loss of Taryn Aiken is big. I know.
Okay, it is. But let me chuck a couple of things at you.
All right.
Right? They didn't have Taryn Aiken for that game against the Broncos, and they still managed to beat them.
That's true.
Corbin Baxter,
awesome.
former premiership captain, Test representative, New South Wales representative. Like at any other club, she's one of the top dog playmakers. You know what I mean? Like it's as good a replacement as you could ask for. And I know the Roosters only snuck home against the Sharks by a point, right? But I also think it's maybe not the worst thing in the world for them to have gotten to a hard game in, because Brisbane haven't had a hard game since that game against the Roosters. That's their only hard game of the year. Brisbane's last 6 margins of victory, get ready for this, 24, 44, 20, 44, 30, and 34.
Some big numbers.
They have not won a game by fewer than 14 points all season. They have not. The only time they got pushed
was that Knights game in the first half.
No, it was the Rooster game that they lost.
Well, I thought you meant of the wins. I know they ended up winning that game against the Knights by a fair margin.
They ended up putting 44 on the Knights.
Well, it doesn't matter because they played them in the finals last week and fustigated them.
So the only sustained hard game they've had this year, they lost.
Interesting.
And they haven't. So they've been blowing teams off the park. They're great to watch. They've scored the most points in the league. They've conceded the fewest points in the league. Tamika Upton, thankfully, snuck home and won the Dally M. Confirmation that she's the best player in the world.
Are you being facetious when you say snuck home, or was it actually close?
It was very close. She won it by like 2 points.
That's
over
so
Julia
silly.
Robinson.
That's ridiculous.
If Julia Robinson got rested for the game 2 weeks before the finals, if she plays in that, there's a chance that it's a tie.
Julia Robinson is a fantastic player.
She's awesome. Center.
Tamika Upton is the best player in the world.
No doubt. Yeah. Right. But I think there's something to be said about the Roosters coming in with some hard rounds under their belt.
Yeah.
That's not to say that Brisbane can't go out there and do all the Brisbane things. And I think the Roosters' edge defense is really, really going to have to be dialed in, because once that ball starts zipping from side to side and it's Upton and Broughton and Mele Hufanga and all the rest, then it's like it's panic stations, baby. It's batten down the hatches. But if the Roosters can restrict them, if they can stop them from playing, the Broncos from playing around them, and keep this game more in the middle third of the field, I think the Roosters could do what I'm expecting Brisbane to do in the men's game. And I think they could come home really, really strong, particularly late. I think Olivia Koenig is going to be a huge, huge part of that. Tamika Upton is the best player in the world. I have Koenig second.
Yep, I agree.
She was one of the best second rowers that the game had. And since moving to lock, she has just gone absolutely next level. So she shapes to me as the key player in this game. Like Brisbane's forward pack is strong, no doubt. They're very big. They're very athletic. They're very destructive. Meant to be hot as buggery on Sunday.
Is it? I hadn't checked the
weather. Yeah, and the Brisbane pack, it's a big forward pack. The Roosters have some size as well. But I think late in the game, the speed and the footwork of the Roosters can really tell through the middle of the field. Now, they're going to have to slow Brisbane down just to get to that point. I think this is a game the Roosters have to win late, but it's one that Brisbane can win early. The Roosters can deny them early. then I think the longer the game goes, the more the arc could bend towards
So
them.
many of these matchups are so exciting. The center matchup alone, those 4 players, is just an absolute ridiculous embarrassment of talent. And then, those forward packs going at each other should be great. I agree with you. Koenig is the best forward in the world right now. Brisbane, maybe I'd shade them, the pack as a whole, probably give them a slight advantage, but it's negligible. I don't look at this game and go that either team is going to dominate. And I agree with you. I think that whilst they have been blowing teams off the park, for basically the entire year, and that applies to both of them. There have been games where teams have been able to score points a little bit against them, not much, but they're like I think, and when they played each other, it was 30-26, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was high scoring.
I think this will be high scoring as well. I think both teams' attack is better than their defense. Is basically what I'm saying. Not that they've defended poorly. I think they've both conceded like not that many points, but there's been. When they play each other.
Well, if it's hot conditions and there's fatigue in the game, there will be points.
I think it's going to be points in this one. I'm very, very excited. Who would you like to take as first try scorer?
Just a couple of other things really quick. We mentioned Baxter earlier. She came back from injury in that prelim against the Sharks, and she admitted herself in an interview she did earlier this week that she was a little bit short of a run. I kind of agreed with her. But I think she'll be much, much better for it. And I think her and Kelleher, the kicking game, is going to be very important. Kelleher, a very quiet achiever for the Roosters over the years, has settled in at half and at 5'8" through much of this season, switching between the two roles. She seems very in control of her own game. Just seems like, sometimes when you're playing Oztag or touch or something like that, and there's a footballer out there, or there's a player out there and you can tell, that's a real footballer.
Yeah.
They just know how to move the ball. They know where it needs to go. And it's never a heavy touch. The ball just goes where it needs to go. And you only get that way by playing heaps of footy.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Kelleher's getting to that point, Nothing flash, nothing crazy. She's not going to be like Taryn Aiken. She's not going to be like Gail Broughton, but she takes this Rooster team where it needs to go. So I think her organisation and her kicking game going to be very, very important. I mentioned the history between these two teams. So back in 2022, the first NRLW season, 2022, Broncos are coming off 3 straight premiership wins, right? They'd only lost 2 games in their entire NRLW.
If anyone's confused right now, there were 2 seasons that year. That's what he means by first.
Yes. Anyway, and the Roosters, it was a 6-team competition back then, and the Roosters snuck into 4th with a losing record.
Yeah, I remember that.
They play the Broncos in the prelim at Leichhardt Oval. The Broncos are up 16-0 after 13 minutes. And the Roosters come back and beat them. And if you talk to a lot of the Roosters players who are still around from that game, Baxter chief among them, a lot of them say that that's their favourite win ever. They treasure that win as much or more than they do the grand final that they won the next week or the grand final they won last year. Because they go, that's the game where we learned how to win. That's the game where we learned how to be tough, And to me, that's the game when the torch passes from the Broncos to the Roosters as being the preeminent club in the NRLW. I know the Knights won the 2 premierships in between there, but the Roosters winning that one before them and then winning that one after them, it gives them, I think that span gives them as much bragging rights as a back-to-back one does. So to me, this game isn't just deciding who's best out of the 2 best teams, clearly the best 2 teams in the competition. I think the winner of this game can claim
they're the best ever.
They're the best ever in the NRLW.
Yeah, right.
They're the top dog franchise through the league's first 7 seasons, and these 2 will be the power in these waters for many years
for a long time to come.
And it gives them the start on being the club of the decade.
What an
So that's the thing, man. This is not just a game that's a season in the making. To me, it's years in the making, which is why I really need it to be good.
Yeah, it's gonna suck.
I need it to live up. I need it to live up to these ideas I've had about it in my head.
Yeah. All right. So which way are you leaning?
I'm leaning the Roosters.
Okay.
I'm leaning the Roosters. I think Julia Robinson scores first because I think they will be able to get the Roosters wide at least once. I think Robbo gets over. But like I said, I think the Roosters claw their way back the longer the game goes. And I think Isabel Kelly scores the winner in the 64th minute. And I think she gets player of the match too. I think her yardage will sort of help get it done there.
Yeah, look, I, in the preseason, picked the Roosters to win the minor premiership and the Broncos to win the comp. And I haven't been right about much this year. So I need this.
Yeah.
So I actually agree with you that the Roosters, I think if it weren't for that, I would be tipping the Roosters. Yeah. But because of that, I'm tipping the Bronx.
Yeah.
I do think the Roosters score first. I go Jasmine Strange, bit of a roughie. She's got first try a couple of times this year, actually. She did a couple of times earlier in the season. And I'll go player of the match. is a tough one, but I think if Brisbane win, it's going to go through Upton. So it's the boring answer, but if Brisbane win this game, it's going to be
she is, I think, $3 to win player of the match.
So
it's
ridiculous.
Crazy. It's quarterback. It's not quite quarterback odds, but it's pretty close.
That is very close.
I want Von Miller odds. Bro.
Yeah,
I'm still chasing that dragon.
Yeah, so I'll go Tamika Upton, player of the match. Who are you going?
How brave.
Thank you.
I told you, Isabel Kelly.
Yep. And in the 64th minute with the try.
Yeah. And I think that will cap the player
and the final score.
Again, didn't think that far ahead. I'll go Roosters 20-18.
I'll go Broncos 30, Roosters 24.
High scoring. Love it.
I think points. All right. Reserve grade Super Bowl.
Better in theory.
We don't need this game.
It's like communism. Yeah, it works on paper, but
shout out the Northern Pride. Always have a place in my heart. Shout out that Jets team with Toby Rudolph. Love them. Shout out that year the Hunters came down and played.
And lost by
I bet on them, and they're up 2-0, and I was thinking, I'm a genius. And they lost.
You go back and look at that Penrith team, and there's like 5 blokes that ended up playing in the the premiership side. Micah Sevo was on that Penrith team.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right, but look, we'll be there for this game. It'll be fun to watch.
It's nice to have a game on that I don't have to, because I got to write something during the NRL game. I've got to write something during the men's game as well. It's nice to have a game that I can just sit down and watch.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? And I never begrudge the teams for how they play in this one, because they won the thing that they were working for all year. They got that last week, and congratulations to them. And that is more important than the state championship.
It is such a weird game because, again, it is a great idea in theory, but it's not the Super Bowl. It's not like, even though we call it the Reserve Grade Super Bowl, it's not like that where the sport is set up in that way, where winning the conference is not the ultimate prize. That's a very American thing. Yeah, this is just like in any other sport where if you'd won the grand final, then got told the next week you got to play a grand final against the team from the next town over. You'll try your best. You'll try to win the game, but it won't hit the same. Yeah. And it never has.
So to that end, I think it sort of falls back onto which team can be more professional. To me, that's the Warriors. The Warriors have a lot of guys who played a fair bit of first grade this year. I think they have a lot of guys who are either future long-term first graders, like Tane Tuapiki or Ali Leotawa, or guys who are reserve grade standouts who can't quite make that jump up. Tana Boyd is a good example. Kalani Going, the State Cup Player of the Year, he's another good example. They have a lot of guys who are right on that bubble. They're incredibly dominant through the New South Wales Cup season. They only lost 2 regular season games, 1 finals game. They scored nearly 800 points through the year. No other team had 700. They conceded less than 400 points this year. No other team had less than 500.
Wow.
Like they were historically dominant. And Burleigh had a great year. They were minor premiers as well. But I think that elite level talent that the Warriors have got,
I think so,
is going to push them over the top.
I'll go Tane Tuapiki first try and man of the match, and I'll go Warriors 40, Bears 16.
Oh, mate, I went Leotawa first try scorer, but also Tuapiki man of the match. A couple more things I do want to talk about, because you can find things in this game. Oren Keeley was man of the match for North Devils last year against Newtown, and then he turned into a very solid and productive player for the Dolphins. There's always things to look for in any footy game. Keen to see Jet Cleary. I've never seen him play before.
Very cool.
Coming off the bench, what's he got? Keen to see it. In terms of guys who maybe aren't as well known, everyone knows Tuapiki at this point. Leotawa is a big favourite of mine. He lost his spot in first grade. I'm not really sure why, but I'm always keen to see him. Sam Healy, who people will know well if they've watched a lot of Warriors games this year. Moala Graham Talfa, who's heading over to your boys last year.
Souths have half of their back, Souths have half of their 2 through 5 coming next year. Him and Kossi are both coming to Souths next year.
Big Ed.
Yeah.
So MJT, he's one to look out for. There's also a young fella, Eddie Eromaya Toeava.
Yep.
Who played a few games off the bench
first grade,
for the Warriors. Big fella, light on his feet, edge back rower. They're in short supply. So if you're a team that was looking for one, I'd be having a good look at him. He's played 46 New South Wales Cup games, and he's only 20.
That's a lot.
So he's had a lot of good, hard footy against grown men. And I think that will put him in really good stead for later in his career. He's a name for the Black Book. In terms of the Burleigh guys, I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about
Mark O'Malley's kid, Matt Guy's kid.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is
I love
cool.
that. I would have loved to have seen Credence Toya get a run as well.
Captain Sammy Saluda.
You got to love that.
Love that.
But I am not as familiar with him just because the Warriors have more first grade guys that I've seen in first grade.
Well, Fletcher Baker, we know him.
Well, Fletcher Baker and Josh Rogers and a couple of other guys. The dummy half, Paul Roach.
Yep.
He had a cup of coffee with the Raiders a few years ago, and I was a fan then, and I've always I don't know. He's just always been a name in me black book.
All
You know,
right.
I've always kept notice of him. So, but yeah, I'm going the Warriors by 22. I think
Yeah.
they run this one in pretty well.
Give me a score. So mine was 46, and that's 24.
I'll go 40-18.
Okay, so very, very similar.
Okay, all right then.
No,
44-22 then.
No. You're fine. Well, that 44-20 was one of the most aesthetically pleasing scores.
I like it.
The double-double
I
numbers.
like it.
It's very nice. That's it. We
it.
did it. We got through grand final week. We've done it. Stay tuned for the Slowly Brain Grand Final tomorrow morning, listeners. But yeah, thank you for your support during the week. It's been great. People can't get enough. It's incredible. They love the podcast. They love more podcasts. They want even more podcasts than the 7 we did this week.
Really?
I guess. I don't know.
Bros, I'm running at peak capacity.
Me too.
I don't know if I can give him
I
anymore.
don't have much left. But yeah, it's been a great week. It's the best week of the year. We can rest late. We sleep in October. It's fine. It's all good. All gas, no breaks. We did it. All right. Well, thank you again for everyone who's listened. It's been a great season. Enjoy the weekend. Say goodbye, Campo.
Goodbye, Bertrand.
And it's goodbye from me.